Good evening, everybody. Oh, I'm the guy with the volume. I got to turn it off. Welcome to our regular council meeting. We did have a brief in-camera session, and we'll have a motion coming out at that moment. I'd like to call this meeting to order and start with our land acknowledgement. The town of Midland recognizes located on land which is traditional and treaty territory of the Anishinaabe people, now known as the Chippewa Tri-Council, comprised of Bow Slave First Nation, Rama First Nation, and Georgina Island First Nation. This territory is within Pre-Confederation Treaty 5 and Treaty 16 and included in the Williams Treaties of 1923. Town of Midland recognizes located on land which is traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and the historic homeland to the Métis, and that our town is home to a large and diverse community of Indigenous people. I'd now like to deliver the following safety message. Should the fire alarm activate, please exit the room in an orderly fashion and proceed to the evacuation assembly area, which is located in the upper parking lot. You may exit through the main entrance doors, the double glass ones here, make an immediate left and proceed out the front doors into the cold, or through the secondary exit, point to this door back here. Up the stairs, check the door for heat before opening. If it's safe, exit on the second floor, turn right and proceed out the doors in front of you. Be careful because the magic electric doors sometimes stick, so you'll walk into it. So we're working on that. It doesn't like the cold either. Washrooms are located on the second floor and elevators located just outside the main entrance. Midland has a respectful workplace policy. Anyone that exhibits violent or harassing behavior will be asked to leave. Members of the audience are to maintain order and quiet and not to address council except during the public session, which we have tonight, several of them, except with the permission of the chair. All cell phones, pagers, and other electronic devices which emit a sound are to be turned off and set to non-audible. A reminder for me too. No person shall display signs or placards, applaud participants, or debate or engage in conversation, electronic or otherwise, or behave in a way that may disrupt the proceedings of council. For anyone requiring a hearing assist device, please advise our clerk, and she'll arrange with our IT staff to provide you with the device. And our council meetings are recorded via Zoom and are posted to the town's YouTube site. The meetings are broadcast on Rogers TV Midland Channel 53 when they can, but it's always on our YouTube channel. Individual recording, broadcasting, or streaming of the meetings by the public or any member is not permitted without express consent of the clerk and all those present. That being said, I'd like to ask you to join me in a moment of quiet contemplation before we get into the meeting tonight. Thank you very much. You'll notice that we are 3 short tonight. Our meeting, each for their own valid, separate reason. And unfortunately, we don't have them available this evening. So we are flying a little short, and which does mean when I get to the part where I talk about our agenda, there is a rather big decision that was to be discussed tonight that we're going to push off, or we're going to suggest that we push off until we're fully staffed yet again up here. So that being said, any declarations of conflict of interest, council, in relation to what is on our agenda for this evening? All right, if that changes at any point, just throw your hand up and let me know. I have a motion here moved by Councillor Patel, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that further to the confidential correspondence dated December 6, 2024, received from the Downtown Midland BIA and related discussions during our closed meeting of council today, earlier, January 15, 2025, council hearing confirms that Richard Dillon be appointed to the Downtown Midland BIA for a term consistent with the term of council. That's Ricky Dillon from Dillon's Pizza. And he's now a proud new member of our BIA board. Any discussion on this one before I call the question? All right, well, we did it in council, in camera. We're super ecstatic to see him join the team of the BIA. It's doing great things this term. So all those in favor? Any opposed? No? Carried unanimously. Fantastic. All right, next we have a motion moved by Councillor Reese, seconded by Councillor Major, that the contents of the regular council with closed session agenda for January 15, 2025 be approved as amended. That amendment being item 17.1 CSR 2025-6, council composition for the 2026 municipal election. Administrative change to page 1 of the report to indicate the year of the KPMG study was in fact 2012. And administrative change to page 2 of that same report, the comparison chart within North Simcoe to show Tay as an at-large election. Some things changed in our world between when the report was first put together, so we needed to edit that. So we are still going to speak to this later in the meeting, as I alluded to, but this is just referencing changes to the documents that were published. Council, any questions about these changes? All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Next, moved by Councillor McDonald, seconded by Councillor Patel, that the items and related recommendations contained within the January 15th, 2025 consent agenda, which is pretty much everything, as consent items having been considered by council be adopted. And council, this is the opportunity if you have any comments or quick questions, something immaterial that doesn't involve change or instruction to staff, now would be the time to talk about many reports on our agenda this evening. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. Somehow I thought I had sent my questions to the clerk, but either I didn't or it got lost, and I obviously didn't. So I have to ask them now. But I would like to, if I may, make a comment on the council information package of December the 9th regarding the thank you letter sent to Mary Broder for her from our deputy clerk regarding her participation on the Active Transportation Committee. I just wanted to bring to the council's attention that Mary was a very strong asset to that committee and its work group. She contributed a lot of good information to the committee, thanks to her role with the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit. She not only took on co-chairing the committee, but she was a major driver in moving the work plan forward and keeping notes, researching information. She also spent a lot of effort in attempting to get a bike lending program off the ground, but we realized that that wasn't feasible. And I want to thank Mary on behalf of council for her efforts and her enthusiasm. She was a very strong asset to that committee. And the other thing, if I have a few questions on the financial report of clarification, if that's possible. Is Lindsay online with us, or yes? It's just the very first paragraph, I think, in the report. On February 1st, council approved the town's 2024 operating and capital budget. The budget included gross expenditure of 38.1 million for operations and a new request for capital of 14.5, includes the 1.4 rate supported, for a total approved capital budget of 38 million. So that's where I got lost. We approve. Thank you.
Lindsay, do you have enough from that to be able to provide some insight?
Yes, through you, Mayor Gordon, to Councillor McDonald. So I think your question relates to the total capital budget being 38 million. And you're thinking, how did we get there? So the 23 budget would have had a sort of a bunch of capital carry forwards, I'll call them, that automatically get rolled into the 24 budget. So the new requests that council dealt with at that time totaled 14.5 million. Does that answer your question?
Perhaps I need to make arrangements for you to draw me a picture.
You know what? Yeah,
okay.
You know what? That probably would be a good idea. We can certainly touch base and go over it.
Okay, and I'll save my other questions of clarification when I meet with you. Thank you.
Councillor Major.
$75,000 for waterfront study. What are we getting for 75,000?
Sorry, what report is that referring to? Is that the financial report or are you talking about something to do with the budget?
It's for, it's a waterfront study.
That's
Yeah.
on the 2025 budget draft. So we're not, we do that in our 3 budget meetings. Tonight, we're gonna hear questions from the staff, which are from the public. Maybe someone from the public's gonna ask the same question. But yeah, that one's not on the consent agenda. So we're just dealing with questions on reports that are on the
And
consent
then
agenda.
what about the empty building lower taxes?
That one's on there. So Lindsay, perhaps you can, this was a bit of a letdown bummer report, but it makes perfect sense. Maybe you can speak to the report, the commercial vacancy tax that we'd asked you to see if it was possible to implement to try and entice people that are sitting on empty commercial buildings downtown to do something with them.
Yep, sorry, give me one moment.
Did you have a specific question about that report, Councillor Major? Or you just wanted to talk publicly about why we can't do it? Okay. Lindsay, do you want to, it's on the report. You can probably
Yeah.
speak to it with more authority. I can. I read your report. That's all.
Through your worship, to Councillor Major, so the long and short of it is, that type of tax would violate, the Municipal Act. So, the Municipal Act is our governing body, for 443 of the 444 municipalities, within Ontario. And, currently that is not a provision of the Act. Typically, you will see commercial properties of that nature are given sort of tax rebate instead of additional tax when those vacancies occur, as more of an incentive program to try to revitalize the downtown areas.
Yeah, go ahead.
Where the PUC used to be. Can I ask questions on that or?
No, not on the report.
Okay,
We can talk sidebar on that one, or you can get a hold of Mr. Farquharson anytime. All right, Councilor Meredith.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. Since the vacancy tax came up, it was one of my motions. I think it was before summer break to bring a vacancy tax in for buildings that have been left vacant for particular in a long periods of time. So we have vacancy buildings downtown Midland that in particular there's at least one that's been vacant for 30 plus years. So by no means did I, when I presented the motion to look into some type of tax against them to actually get them, whether fixed up by the property owner or rented out, to have, and I don't know why it's sitting there for 30 years vacant, but it might be a tax write-off. I don't know, but in no means was I ever in this report, tagged along with a vacancy tax was an actual incentive to actually whether grant them money to fix up their buildings from the tax base. So that is not, in my eyes, that is the responsibility of the building owner, and to make our downtown thrive, we don't want to see buildings left vacant for 30 years. So by no means would I support an incentive for building owners to fix up their buildings. They bought their investment, and they should take care of their investment. So it somehow got tagged on to with my motion prior, and now that we know that the vacancy tax is not doable. There are incentives with the BIA for which building owners pay into, not coming from the tax base at all. Doesn't affect our taxes. That there are funds in there that the BIA will contribute up to $5,000 to fix up their storefronts. So that is sufficient enough in my eyes, and I don't think we need to go down to try to put a tax burden, a further tax burden on our citizens for building owners to fix up their buildings. So unless there's some type of provincial grant out there that it's not affecting our tax base, then so be it. But that's where I stand on that. So thank you.
Okay, I've got a couple then. Well said, Councillor Meredith. I know that wasn't what we discussed. That was kind of just offered up as if you can't tax them, maybe you can support them and to try and get to the same objective, but I concur. Not on the taxpayer dime. We'll find other ways. And one of the tandem things we spoke about, just as it's connected to this, is beefing up our property standards bylaw, especially as it comes to vacant buildings left to decay with, nasty old moldy paper in the window, just making the place all look like a ghost town. That's coming in a rewrite of our property standards and how that'll be enforced. So I think that may help to some degree, although it doesn't occupy the building. At least it won't look like the scene of a horror movie. So moving on, what I really wanted to just call out was the Sports and Rec Center. As we continue to update folks on what we're looking to do to try and, lose less money, which is really our sole objection or sole objective, sorry, with the Sports and Rec Center. It's never really going to be profitable. We just want to lose less. Non-resident fees has been a big and contentious issue, as we speak to our neighbors about asking them to help us lose less money on this facility they jointly use. You'll notice in this report that the naming rights, we're proceeding with that, and hopefully in Q2, that should be out for consideration, and it'll be outsourced to a third party, so the municipality and councilors and politicians won't have any say in who wins that. Ultimately, it'll be probably who has the deepest pockets, and it's done by a third party. And the non-resident fees will continue to look at that, but we're going to pivot a little bit. And one of the recommendations in here is that we put $10,000 in our budget that isn't currently in our budget right now to join a study with Penetanguishene, who's also put $10,000 aside. And basically 20 grand is what it costs for your run-of-the-mill study. If you want to study anything, it's 20 grand. So we're going to go into this halvesies and have somebody that has no dog in this fight, no skin in the game whatsoever, look at our joint recreational facilities, what it costs to run them, who uses them, what's an appropriate, if any, way to recoup costs from users, non-resident otherwise. And then that will inform both our municipalities on the best way forward. Maybe take some of the heat and drama and politics out of it. I think it's probably 10,000 well spent, but we'll debate that at the end of the month. But that's a new addition that probably no one's heard of before. And because we're just kind of passing all these reports en masse right now, I wanted to call it out as an option for us, and certainly one that I think is a great idea. Penetang's already all in. And the last call out is an exciting one that I've been talking about and hinting at for quite some time, which is that 720 Ontario Street, funny L-shaped property as a potential site for Habitat for Humanity to build some basically tiny homes as a pilot project. This report basically calls out what it will cost you, the resident and ratepayer of Midland, if we were to donate that land, which is how this works with Habitat, and eat a lot of the charges and fees that come along with typical developments, some of which we have to do because the province tells us we have to now with Bill 23, but other ones would be voluntary. And it kind of adds up what those costs are. But what it doesn't identify are the unknown costs of all the supplemental environmental studies that have to be done on a former brownfield or industrial use site, and whether or not that's going to be, basically a killer of this deal. If it's several $100,000, for example, added on to our significant contribution of the land and waiving all the fees, that may be too big an ask for the Midland ratepayer. or it may just be deemed to be unsuitable for habitat. So those conversations are ongoing. But this report's being received for information only, and for those reading it, we're not agreeing by just voting tonight to donate anything yet. It's still being contemplated. But I did want to update you because it has something that I've been talking about in the news for some time, working towards, in a meaningful way, affordable housing and deeply subsidized housing in Midland, which isn't really in our wheelhouse. That's the county of Simcoe and the province. But the one thing we do is land use planning. So we make way for housing to be built. We don't actually build it. And one of the things we can do is offer up municipal land, surplus land, to allow for these kind of building types. So that's what this report's all about. It's a neat little read and ongoing conversations, but I did want to call it out because there has been a lot of chatter as of late about, hey, are small, tiny homes, affordable homes coming to Midland? Don't know yet. It's a bit early to say. That's kind of my summary on that. I think everything else pretty much speaks for itself, folks. As always, welcome to review our agendas. They're published a week ahead of time. And if you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to staff or council at any point. Any other comment or questions, council? Oh, Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Your Worship. So through Your Worship, I felt that report, it went the opposite way of what we were thinking regarding vacancy tax. So I was hoping for a vacancy tax, but I don't think we should be putting on incentive programs through our taxpayers to bring those properties back. That's in the hands of province. There is grants out there through the province if they want to, rejuvenate those properties, and the BIA 5,000. So that should be sufficient enough. But we should not be putting it on the ratepayers, any kind of incentives to bring those properties back. Thank you.
Perfect. And everyone following along will be happy to know it's not in the budget. No one suggested that we're going to do that. So unless it gets a last minute ad, which I feel like it won't, it's not happening. It's just in the report for information only. All right, council, there we go. Consent agenda, lots of discussion on this one. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right, next move by Councillor Reese, seconded by Councillor Meredith, that council resolve into committee of the whole. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Normally I'd pass the mic over to our deputy mayor, but she is unavailable this evening, which also means I get to do committee of the whole. Yay. I'm not super well trained on this one because I usually, this is where I just become like a counselor for the meeting. So I will go through the script and hopefully I get it right because we do have some public meetings, which are, I think just 4 of them on tap tonight. And we're going to start with the most important one, which I think we probably have folks in the house for, and that is 12.1, our 2025 budget public meeting. So I'd like to call the public meeting to order. The public meeting is being held to receive input from the public on the town's 2025 budget. This public meeting is being held in accordance with Section 16 of the town's notice bylaw 2009-20 and our procedure bylaw 2022-2. The purpose of the public meeting is to hear from residents and for council only to seek clarity on their comments. As per Section 9.9C of the town's procedure bylaw 2022-2, council members shall not enter into debate or discussion with the matter during the public meeting. We are effectively all ears and pens. Council will not be making a decision or taking a position tonight. This is the public's opportunity to speak, and council encourages you to do so, and I'm so happy there's people here this time. We had nobody last year. Well, sorry, one drunk guy came in. All comments will be received for information by staff and considered during the budget deliberations. So I'd like to ask the clerk to confirm notification of this meeting regarding the town's 2025 budget.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to confirm that notice was provided in accordance with the town's notice bylaw.
Wonderful. So I will now open the meeting to comments from the public. If you've submitted any written comments, there's no need to repeat the comments in this forum, as staff will be presenting those comments to council during the budget deliberations. However, nothing stops you from doing it again, so you're on TV and YouTube and we're hearing it again. If a previous speaker has highlighted your concerns, in appreciation of time, and given the number of registrants who would like to speak tonight, we would appreciate that the comments you provide are new. However, we have a pretty light agenda. So honestly, if you want to repeat with more emphasis something you heard, we're not muting you or kicking you out. Just happy to have you here, quite frankly. At this time, I'd like to ask if there is anyone in attendance who'd like to provide comments respecting to the town's 2025 budget. Please step up to the podium and state your name and address for the public record. and activate the mic so it turns red for you. You'll have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. So who's first? Nobody's here for the budget meeting? Okay. I'm a little depressed because I really was optimistic because literally last year somebody staggered in by accident. It's okay though. For the people following online, you can email your questions about the budget to budget@midland.ca, and all of the questions or comments, sometimes it's not a question, it's a comment, will be aggregated by our finance department. If there's an answer that they can provide to you, they will. Otherwise, the whole question and the answer will, well, either way, they'll be provided to council. So we'll get to see them all regardless. So folks online, do we have anybody online that's registered that wants to? Oh, man. Okay. I thought this was going to be the year. People will just beat us up on Facebook later. All right, so one more call. Just procedurally, anybody want to take a stab at it now that you're thinking about it? Budget, taxes are going up. I guarantee you that. Do you want to have any say? You just trust us to spend your tax dollars wisely? Thank you for that vote of confidence. All right. All right. Well, at any rate, our 3-day budget deliberations are also open to the public. You're welcome to join us. They're Tuesday to Thursday, starting on the 22nd, 28th. Yeah, right at the end of the month. So they're full days. So bring your comfy shoes, your jammies, blanket, whatever. You're welcome to join us in the audience. You can also watch it on YouTube and it'll be recorded so you can watch it later. Okay, so sticking to the script, which I have not been doing thus far, as there are no further comments from the public regarding the Town of Midland's 2025 budget, I will now call this public meeting to an end. Next, 12.2 building permit fees. So I'd like to call the public meeting to order. This public meeting is being held under Section 7.6 of the Building Code Act to consider an amendment to the town's building fee permits. Or building permit fees, sorry. The purpose of the public meeting is to hear from residents regarding the changes proposed. Notification of the public meeting was posted on the town's website on December 16th, 2024. The notification also included instructions on how to obtain materials related to the amendment to the building permit fees. This is your opportunity to speak, and council encourages you to do so. I'd ask now that the town's chief building official, Mike Capitelli, to provide a brief introduction about what this is all about. Mike, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. Good evening, council. The reason for tonight's public meeting is for the town to meet its legislative requirement under the Building Code Act when increasing building permit fees. And council may recall building permit fees were reviewed by Watson and Associates, and a report was provided in June 2023. This resulted in council passing a motion to support the proposed new fee structure, and future increases would be added annually. As per the council meeting held July 10th, 2024, it was requested that council that the building permit fee increase be approved annually instead of an automatic annual increase. Staff are requesting that existing building permit fee amendment to include an increase of the building services fees of 3.3% for 2025. The 3.3% increase equals the third quarter Statistics Canada non-residential cost index in Toronto, and is equal to the January 1st increase to the town's development charges. As stated in Watson and Associates report, an annual increase will help the town avoid any large building permit fee increases in the future. If the number of building permit applications match our projections, we will continue annual building permit fee increases. We will achieve our goal of a reserve fund of 2 times the direct cost of building services. Thank you, Mayor Gordon. That concludes my summary of the request before council.
Thank you very much. I will now open the meeting up to the public. If you wish to make a comment, please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the public record, and you'll have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. Anybody want to talk about building permit fees? They're going up. Another spoiler alert. How much? That's subject to debate. We do have recommendations. Anybody register online? Any of your developer friends? Anybody? No? It's either a vote of confidence or apathy. One more time, last call for the building permit fees. Okay. As there are no further comments or any comments from the public regarding the zoning bylaw amendment, I will call this public meeting to an end. Oh, pardon me, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. There's a clerical error. It's actually the building permit fees hearing, not a zoning bylaw amendment.
Yeah, as I said it, I kind of felt like I'm saying the wrong thing, but it's in the script. Yep, very good. So yes, it's not zoning bylaw amendment. This is the building permit fee. Okay, so with that, I do have a motion here. Moved by Councillor East, seconded by Councillor Major. The staff report CSR 2025-7 building permit fee increase dated January 15, 2025 be received, and that council adopts the building permit fee bylaw 2025-2. That being said, the actual number is something we debate in our fees and charges bylaw, but this is the bylaw for well, we have to update our bylaw, so we have to adopt this bylaw. Fees to be determined. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Next public meeting. I'd like to call the public meeting to order. This public meeting is being held pursuant to Section 34 of the Planning Act to consider zoning bylaw amendments for the property located at 924 King Street. In accordance with the Planning Act, a person that does not make an oral submission at the public meeting tonight, or does not make a written submission before the bylaw is passed or an approval is given, will not be entitled to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal and may not be added as a party to a hearing or an appeal to the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there is reasonable grounds to do so. The purpose of this public meeting is to present the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, which I said earlier, and to receive comments from the public about it. Council is not making a decision on the application or taking a position tonight. Council will debate the merits of the application following the receipt of the staff recommendation report to be presented at a future council meeting, which will contain comments we hear tonight. This is your opportunity to speak and provide input, and council encourages you to do so. I'll now call upon Jennifer Chandler, student planner, to confirm that notice of the public meeting has been issued as prescribed. Jennifer.
Yes, notice has been provided. Thank you.
Fantastic. If you want to make your way up to the podium, I'll now invite Jennifer Chandler, our student planner, to provide a brief presentation about the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and speak to any correspondence received thus far about the proposal.
Great, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Gordon, council members, staff, and the members of the public. So my name is Jennifer Chandler, and I'm currently a planning student here with the town of Midland in the Community and Growth Division. So the town is in receipt of a privately initiated application to amend the town's zoning bylaw to permit a reduction of parking requirements to facilitate the construction of 2 new eating establishments on a property municipally known as 924 King Street. The town must process this application as per the Planning Act, and a part of the process is a statutory public meeting that we are here tonight. As this is a privately initiated application, the role of staff is limited to providing a general information about the application, why the application is required, and the next steps in the process as prescribed in the Planning Act. Next slide, please. So the property is located at 924 King Street. It's located on the west side of the intersection at King Street and Highway 12. It's currently occupied by Quality Inn Hotel and Conference Center, as well as an individual restaurant. The current designations of the subject lands are outlined in the town's official plan. The subject property is inside the delineated built boundary and is designated as Strategic Growth Area 1 on Schedule A growth areas. It's designated as mixed use in Schedule B urban structure and is designated as a commercial corridor in Schedule C land use. The proposed uses for this application are currently permitted in the town's official plan, and therefore an official plan amendment is not required. The subject land is zoned highway commercial within the town's zoning bylaw. highway commercial zoning permits eating establishments, as well as the existing uses of a hotel, motel, and conference center. And the full list of permitted uses can be found in our zoning bylaw under section 6.2.2. Next slide, please. All right, so we're just going to go over the site planning requirements. So the application proposes to construct 2 new eating establishments shown as Building C and Building D on the illustrated slide. Even though the official plan and the zoning bylaw permit such a use on the property, the proposal cannot meet the minimum parking requirements to facilitate the 2 new eating establishments. So parking minimums and requirements are set out in table 4.1 of the town's zoning bylaw. When a property encompasses multiple uses, the minimum parking requirement shall be calculated by totaling the number of spaces for each individual use on the property. As such, the introduction of 2 new eating establishments requires an additional 32 parking spaces, as well as additional barrier-free and loading spaces. Due to land area constraints, the new minimum parking spaces cannot be accommodated currently. Next slide, please. So the purpose and effect of the zoning bylaw amendment is to rezone the lands from highway commercial zone to highway commercial exception zone to permit the reduction of parking spaces. Next slide, please. As demonstrated on the slide, the applicant is proposing to reduce the minimum parking spaces from the required 346 spaces to a new total of 137 parking spaces. Further, the applicant seeks to reduce the number of barrier-free parking spaces from 4 to 3 and reduce the loading spaces from 6 to 1. Next slide, please. Thank you. So this is a list of the submitted materials from Myco Urban Consulting, Inc. And this can all be found on our website at midland.ca. And next slide. Thank you very much for your time and consideration. And this concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Well done. I think this is your first one, isn't it?
No, it's
your-
my second one.
Your second. Well, that's already, you did do one already. You did a great job. It's great having students in our planning department, our growth department, as I like to call it. I'd like to now invite the applicant's agent, Peter Chi, to provide a presentation on the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Is Peter online or in the flesh? Online. Very good. Peter, we'll see you in a second. Did he get the invite? Oh, okay. Okay, very good. Yeah, we have to promote him to being a presenter. Oh, he's here? Oh, yeah. Oh, Peter, you're muted. Go ahead and unmute.
How's that?
Perfect. We can hear you and we can see you.
Okay, thank
And we
you.
have your slide up.
Okay, can I have the next slide? Yes, as the previous presenter mentioned, that we're at the northwest corner of King Street and Heritage Drive. This is a very highly, how do you say, pronounced area. It's got very good road exposure. What's before you is a parking lot that's at the corner of King Street and Heritage, which is actually just sitting vacant lands. And what we're proposing is 2 standalone buildings with drive-throughs. Currently, right now, we have a an existing hotel, which has required parking, which actually doesn't meet the current parking that's there now doesn't meet the parking standard that's required by the town's bylaw, as we have surveyed. In support of the reduction, we have a study from Arcadis IBI Group, which did a parking analysis through the historical data that we received from the franchisor to indicate that at no time was the hotel at full occupancy, nor at no time was the banquet hall at full use. So basing on that, that's how we justify the reduction of the parking. And what it is that if you could have the second slide. Okay. This is the one with the existing building right now with the existing parking lot as per the topographic survey by the surveyor back in 2019. This is the existing condition as it is. The next slide, please. Okay, this is what we're proposing. We're proposing building C and D, which would utilize the vacant parcel land that's before King Street. We're sort of looking at the fact that because King Street and Heritage is very exposed to the traveling public, rather than seeing a parking lot having two nice buildings there would probably be justifiable. And to sort of compensate some of the loss in parking, we had introduced some additional parking, which is at the westerly part of the parking lot by Home Depot. That we were going to be introducing some additional parking. I think the total parking is about 40, but still, we're still going to be short. Okay. So basing on the study that we have, the client and I are very confident that there should be no impact on the adjacent properties or any other roadways coming in. We were in discussion with MTO to discuss about the development, and we are right now looking forward to working with staff and MTO to facilitate the approval of this application. If council have any questions, my client and I are here to answer any questions or concerns from council and or the public. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chi. I now open the meeting to comments from the public. If you wish to make a comment, please step up to the podium and state your name and address for the public record, and you'll have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. Anybody who'd like to speak to this application? Proposed change? By process of elimination, I think I know what you guys are here for. All right, one last call. Anybody want to talk about this? Anyway, if you're interested in it, there'll be a report coming back to council in a month or two, and it'll have all kinds of goodness and recommendations on whether this is doable or not. All right, well, any council, any clarifying questions? Councilor Major.
So with the limited space and the way this winter is in Midland, I'm just kind of wondering where you're going to put all the snow.
Right now, what we're proposing is there's some small locations that we could plow the snow, but most of the heavy snow would be trucked off site. Sort of like most places, even in the commercial areas in Midland, that the amount of snow depends on the snowfall would have to be trucked off site anyways, and the client understands that and appreciates the fact that there would be additional cost for snow removal that would be borne by him.
Great. I know the growth team, the planning team always considers snow storage as part of their weighting when they're making their recommendations to us. Anybody else got a question or clarification while we have Mr. Chi on the line? Councilor Meredith.
Thank you through you, Mayor Gordon. It's just a comment. I'm just I'm concerned about um basically decimating your parking spaces to over half, less than half of the current allotted spaces. I know you did in your presentation, you did say that the hotel wasn't at its full capacity. Issues there as with the growth expected in Midland and so forth. Should it come to full capacity, then we could be into a problem. So just concerned about that, and just I'll be looking forward to the staff report. Thank you.
All right, so as there's no further comments from the public or council, I'll call this public meeting regarding the zoning bylaw amendment to an end. And I have a motion coming out of that one, moved by Councillor East again. And looking over to Councillor Patel to second it. The staff report CSR 2025-5 zoning bylaw amendment public meeting report file number ZBA 0424 for 924 King Street dated January 15th, 2025 be received for information. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. All right, last but not least in our public meetings, I'd like to call the public meeting to order. This public meeting is being held pursuant to section 22 and 34 of the Planning Act to consider an official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment for the property located at 1017 and 1029 Brebeuf Road. In accordance with the Planning Act, a person that does not make an oral submission at the public meeting tonight, or does not make a written submission before the bylaw is passed or an approval is given, will not be entitled to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal and may not be added as a party to a hearing on an appeal to the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there is reasonable grounds to do so. The purpose of this public meeting is to present the proposed official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment and to receive comments from the public. Again, council is not making a decision on the application or taking a position tonight. Council will debate the merits of the application following the receipt of a staff recommendation report to be presented at a future council meeting. This is your opportunity to speak and provide input, and council encourages you to do so. I'll now call upon Andy Warzen, our senior planner, who's at the podium, to confirm that notice of public meeting is being issued as prescribed.
Thank you, Your Worship. I can confirm that notice was provided in accordance with the Planning Act requirements.
Thanks. And now you can get into a brief presentation about the proposed official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment and speak to any correspondence received about the proposal thus far.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, members of council, fellow staff, members of the public. As you hear, the planning department was in receipt of a privately initiated application for an official plan amendment and a rezoning bylaw amendment. The applications pertain to the subject properties being 1017 and 1029 Brebeuf Road. Next slide, please, Sarah. The slide here is a location map to provide context of the location of the property. You'll see the road along the northern boundary of the image is Highway 12, and Brebeuf Road branches off of that intersection to the south, and the properties are highlighted there in red squares. They're located on the east side of Brebeuf Road, currently contain single detached dwellings, although I believe some of the dwellings on the larger land parcel, which is 1029, has been removed. In terms of town planning documents, the official plan currently designates the lands as green lands in a strategic area 1 on Schedule A, green lands in a mixed use district on Schedule B, and natural heritage and commercial corridor designations as noted on Schedule C of this town's official plan. The current zoning of the property is industrial M1 with a holding symbol. The applications, again, have been submitted to establish the principal land uses in our official plan and to change the zoning of the property to allow for a concrete mixing plant to be constructed on the property. Should council move forward and approve these applications, there will be a subsequent site plan control application that will have to be submitted in support of that concrete mixing plant. Next slide, please. As per the official plan amendment, as I just noted, the purpose is to allow for site-specific mapping amendments to the town's official plans. So as noted on Schedule A, to change the lands to a green lands and strategic area, to amend Schedule B to go from green lands and mixed-use districts to a rural urban area, urban structure, and to change the land use designation from natural heritage and commercial corridor to an aggregate extraction area designation. Next slide, please. In terms of the proposed zoning, as I explained, the current zoning is an industrial M1 zone, which does not permit the concrete mixing plant. And as such, this rezoning application has been submitted to allow for a site-specific zoning to allow for the concrete mixing plant. And in addition to allowing that use, there's also some height increases that are being proposed as it relates to the concrete ready mix plant and the associated, there's a silo tower as part of the concrete mixing plant. So the increase to the height of those from 11 to 15 meters into 21 meters. And lastly, as part of the rezoning is to remove the hold from those lands to allow for the development to occur. Next slide, please. As indicated, this is just a proposed concept of the site plan for the concrete mixing plant. You'll note that on the right side, sorry, the left side of the screen is Braybluff Road. You'll note that there's no entrance or access point from Braybluff Road that will be a part of, associated with the concrete mixing plant. The dashed red circle in the bottom right corner indicates the location of the concrete mixing plant, which directly abuts the aggregate pit to the right or to the east. And then similarly, I believe there's some berming that's going to be established around the perimeter of the property to also buffer some of the views and sounds maybe that are associated with the concrete mixing plant. Next slide, please. In terms of supporting material, the applicant did prepare the following documents and plans to justify the change of use and to support the applications. I won't go into detail, just leave it for a second so everyone can read for themselves. But a number of technical documents have been prepared. They're currently being reviewed. Subsequent to this meeting, we will be circulating a commenting package to the applicant for them to address any of the comments we receive from internal departments and external agencies. Next slide, please. Similarly, we will be also any comments that we receive from the public this evening or in written form, they will also be included and circulated to the applicant. In addition, we will be including them in our recommendation report. I would like to note, however, that planning staff did receive one letter, an email from a resident located at 1024 Braybluff. You can see here I've kind of paraphrased the concerns, just general opposition as it relates to the submitted application. It appears that since they've done some site alterations to the property, there's already been noticeable increase in noise pollution. So there's some concerns with the new concrete mixing plant being in there and the additional noise that might be generated, backup beepers, heavy machinery equipment, stuff of that nature. So I just wanted to highlight to council that we did receive those comments. Next slide, please. Which I believe is it. So that concludes my presentation, but I am available in case anyone has any questions and I can assist. I do believe the planning consultant is also here this evening that can provide a more detailed presentation for everyone. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Warson. That's a perfect segue. We'd like to invite Amanda Newlove, the applicant's agent, to provide a presentation on the proposed official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment. Just press the button to make the red light come on. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. I do have a brief presentation. If staff could put that on the screen. Thank you. So my name is Amanda on behalf of the Jones Consulting Group, and we represent the applicant who is proposing a concrete ready mix plant on the lands located at 1017 and 1029 Braybluff Road in the town of Midland, which requires an official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, and site plan control. Next slide, please. So the subject lands are outlined in red and green on this slide, have a total area of 5.7 hectares and approximately 200 meters of frontage on Braybluff Road. 1017 Braybluff Road is outlined in red and currently contains a single detached dwelling and accessory structures. The applicant has purchased this property and leased it to the current residents. So once those current residents leave the property, these buildings will be demolished and the access to Braybluff Road will be removed. 1029 Braybluff Road is outlined in green and did contain an abandoned dwelling and some other structures, which has since been demolished. The access to Braybluff Road from this property will also be removed, as the applicants also own the aggregate extraction pit located directly to the east. So the site is proposed to only be accessed through this aggregate extraction pit, as they're legally merged with these lands. It should also be noted that the existing Sargent site is located just north of these lands along County Road 93. And the intent of this proposal is to move the existing concrete plant on that site to these lands, as currently trucks travel the aggregate from the pit to that property. And this will allow that operation to solely be within the aggregate pit, so that traffic will be removed from the roadways. Next slide, please. So these are some photos of the surrounding uses with the lands. So directly south of the lands are also zoned industrial and contain a single detached dwelling, some agricultural uses, and warehousing and outdoor storage. Directly north, which is also zoned industrial, is vacant and contains some woodlands. Directly west is a few single detached dwellings along Braebuff Road, and directly east, as noted, is the aggregate extraction pit, which is also owned by the applicant and going to be connected with the subject lands. Next slide, please. So this is the proposed site plan for the concept. As you can see, the concrete ready mix plant is located in the far southeast corner. It will also contain office space and washrooms. There is no municipal services in vicinity of the land, so there is a private septic system and private well. The lands also contain aggregate storage bins, the conveyor belt, and silo, which is all associated with the concrete ready mix plant. There is a parking area located to the north for employees. And as noted, there's no access on Braebuff Road that's proposed. It will all be accessed through the existing aggregate pit. And the site will actually be lowered about 20 meters in grade to match the floor of the pit. And that's how the site will be accessed. Next slide, please. So this is a cross section which helps visualize that drop in grade that I was describing. So Braebuff Road is shown on the top left corner, and as well, the perimeter of the site will have a 3 to 4.5 meter high landscape berm to help provide that additional buffer. The site will then drop 20 meters in grade to match the adjacent aggregate pit, and you can see the concrete ready mix plant located on that eastern corner. Next slide, please. So this is a summary of the extensive technical work that's been submitted in support of the applications, including planning, engineering, transportation, geotechnical, hydrogeological, environmental, and archaeological. From a high level, the functional servicing and stormwater management report reviewed as there's no municipal services, they will be adequately serviced by individual services. The transportation impact study concluded that it will be a net benefit with removing that truck traffic that currently exists to travel to that site on County Road 93. The hydrogeological assessment reviewed the groundwater, identified the water table, and also did a private well study for adjacent properties within 500 meters. The environmental impacts study reviewed the possible natural features on the lands and identified there be no negative impacts. And again, the archaeological studies concluded that there's no further cultural concern and no further archaeological work necessary. Next slide, please. So going through the planning merits of the application, so it is our opinion that the proposal has regard to matters of provincial interest and consistent with the provincial planning statement, as the lands are located in the settlement area of Midland. They will efficiently utilize lands that are legally merged with an existing aggregate extraction pit and adjacent to other industrial land uses. It's key to note that the concrete ready mix plant is directly related to the aggregate extraction because of the transfer of materials, and that is supported by the provincial planning statement. It will utilize individual water and wastewater services as no municipal services are available. Also, the proposal will require the completion of an environmental compliance approval, or ECA, which reviews any potential effects such as air, noise, vibration, dust, etc. That's in accordance with the ministry requirements. This is a very rigorous process that the applicant is aware of and has done previously for the current Sargent site on County Road 93. And lastly, the EIS concludes development is not expected to negatively impact any of those identified features, provided those mitigation measures are followed. Next slide, please. So in addition to the Planning Act and provincial planning statement, the province also has specific guidelines for industrial uses, which are called the D6 guidelines and are also used for that environmental compliance approval, or ECA. So in our opinion, the proposal does meet the intent of these guidelines because they are merged with the existing aggregate pit and are directly related to that industrial use. No access is proposed along Brebeuf Road. It will only be accessed through that pit. The plant is located the farthest possible distance from Brebeuf Road. The existing dwellings on the subject lands will be removed, and the surrounding dwellings are over 300 meters from the proposed plant, which meets that recommended separation distance in those guidelines. And again, all adverse effects, so noise, dust, etc., will be reviewed through the completion of an ECA, which is required before the plant gets constructed. And the lot lines will include that 3-meter landscaped berm as well. Next slide, please. So the lands are located within the Midland settlement area, which permits a range of land uses subject to the local official plan. Next slide, please. So the official plan amendment requires a revision to 3 schedules because they're all interconnected. So the ultimate goal is to redesignate the lands to aggregate extraction area because that is consistent with the designation on the lands to the east, the aggregate extraction pit, and that is the designation that permits concrete plants. So the first step is to remove the lands from greenlands and strategic growth areas. The removal of the lands from greenlands is supported by the environmental impact study that was submitted with the application. And in our opinion, removal of the lands from the strategic growth areas is appropriate as this will be an industrial land use that's directly associated with the aggregate extraction pit. Next slide, please. So the next schedule is Schedule B, urban structure, to change the urban structure classification from mixed-use districts and greenlands to rural area. The rural area classification is the only classification that has the aggregate extraction designation because it supports the economic development of the town, including industrial land uses. Next slide, please. And lastly, as discussed, the last schedule is Schedule C, land use, to redesignate the lands from commercial corridor and natural heritage to aggregate extraction area. This is the designation that permits concrete plants, and as you can see, it is consistent with the lands directly east. Next slide, please. So the lands are currently zoned Industrial 1 with a holding provision. And as you can see from this picture as well, all the lands to the east of Brebeuf Road are in industrial zones. Next slide, please. So the proposed zoning bylaw amendment will rezone the lands to M2, which is the zone that permits concrete ready-mix plants. It will also lift the holding provision from the lands as the proposal is going through site plan control. The proposal will meet all the development standards in the M2 zone except for maximum building height. So the proposed exception will increase the maximum building height from 11 meters to 15 meters for the plant and to 21 meters for the silo. And it should be noted again on that cross section that even though it's an increased maximum building height, it's measured from the finished grade of the plant, which will be 20 meters lower than Brebeuf Road to be consistent with the pit to the east. So in conclusion, it is our opinion that the proposed applications are consistent with the PPS, meet the intent of the county official plan and town official plan, as it will be an industrial use that's connected with an existing aggregate operation in a planned industrial area. There'll be no negative impacts to environmental or mineral resources or groundwater resources. There'll be a net benefit in terms of the transportation network with removing that truck traffic on County Road 93. And in our opinion, it is good planning. So thank you so much for your time and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Ms. Liu. Newlove. I'll open the meeting now to comments from the public. If you wish to make a comment, please step up to the podium, state your name and address for the public record. You'll have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. Anybody online? No? Very good. Well, if anyone decides they want to, the mic is there. But Councillor Major?
So that, you're not gonna have the key lock moved over there? Like Sargent's has the key lock where the place is now. So there's just gonna be the cement plant moving there, the key lock staying on the highway.
Yes, through the chair, the fuel station is staying on that property. It's just the concrete plant.
And the other question I have is, say if you have a meeting, you're gonna allow people to, like if you're a builder, or whatever, and you're gonna meet the manager at the cement plant, so they're gonna let you drive through the pit?
Through the chair, so the pit is also owned by the
I know
applicant.
that, but it's a work pit. Like there's not too many gravel pits I've ever been around where people just roll through.
Through the chair, that's the proposed transportation access. The plant itself isn't going to be very large in terms of a meeting space, but absolutely that's the transportation that will be taken is through the pit. Yeah. And also in terms of fire, same thing, it's the fire route. It will go through the pit.
So basically, there's no access off of Brave Beth Road. None.
Through the chair, that is correct. Yes, no access off Brayboff Road.
Okay. Thank you.
Without repelling gear, because it's 20 meters down.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you wouldn't want to, there wouldn't be no, yeah, from the pictures. Any questions? No, going once, going twice. Oh, Councilor Meredith.
I just have a quick one through you, Mayor Gordon. Thank you for the presentation. Detail was really good and very informative. One question I had on the property on 1017. What's existing there now, and is that just going to be basically, if there's a house on it, is it going to get torn down and then it's just going to be left as is? There's nothing really going in that area. From what I see from your presentation.
Yes, so through the chair, so the ultimate design concept will include 1017. The grading will go right to the limit of that properties. It currently contains a single detached dwelling and there are residents living in that dwelling. So what has happened is the applicant has purchased the property from those residents and is now leasing the property to them. And the agreement is that when those residents choose to leave, that's when the buildings will be demolished and incorporated into the site. So in the engineering drawing set, there's also a phased grading approach. So it shows the limit of grade for when those residents are still on that property. But they're fully aware of the proposal and have no objections.
Councilor McDonald.
Thank you for your very thorough presentation, both yourself and Mr. Warzen. I did take a drive down Braybuff Road, and I thought, oh my goodness, I wouldn't want a cement plant if I lived here. But the berm that you're proposing, would that eliminate some of the concerns that have already been brought to our attention via email about the noise? And then the other concern that I thought would be the dust.
Mm.
And I'd have to be also, I'll watch very closely for the green belt, Greenland and strategic growth reports that are going to come forward. But the environmental compliance assessment, I think will help me decide whether I think it's a good idea to have a cement plant there. But I guess my question directly is the berm, will it help with the noise that they're experiencing now? Yes, so through the chair, the purpose of that landscape berm, which is going to be 3 to 4
6.5 meters high, is to provide that additional buffer to help with noise and just buffer it from the street. And in relation to noise and dust and any of those air quality, that is all regulated by the ministry. The environmental compliance approval is a very strict and rigorous process. So all of those studies will be completed in accordance with provincial requirements. So they cannot construct this without that approval from the province.
That's actually a great question because we've been having this conversation with other concerned residents about environmental approvals. These are all things that are mandated by the province, scientists, people with, a lot smarter than us, maybe smarter than me, I'll say, speak for myself, make the determinations whether things are good ideas environmentally and setbacks and all these decisions. They're not politically driven. We're just dealing with land use planning. So I do look forward to this. I do have a question, actually, Mitch. The Housing Enabling Water Systems Fund grant that saw us get the $30 million, it's going to see water municipal services extended down to allow for amazing growth in that area, because that's going to be a huge growth area for us. Will that be something that this plant in the future could tie into once we get it running down the highway? Is it going that far?
Yes. So our goal is to get the water as close to County Road 90, Highway 93 as possible. At this point, we don't know if water will go down Brebeuf, but at least it would be at the beginning of Brebeuf to be brought down if there was other development type things to tie in the future. So it wouldn't be unreasonable.
Thank you, because there's going to be a lot of growth along that corridor. It's definitely big time. And so if I'm just doing the mental math here, there's going to be about 26 meters of effectively berm. So you're going to drop 20 meters in elevation. The plant and any noise that's produced in dust is going to be effectively insulated and channeled up, not almost 30 meters.
Through the chair, correct. From the finished grade of the site, yes, that is correct.
Okay, so I too would be concerned if I lived there as well with, noise and dust. So I'm glad to see that study, whatever the acronym was for it, ECA or whatever study,
Yes.
includes that, because it would be good to know that the noise levels from the existing plant are measured and then compared on what the neighboring residents 300 meters or so away from it could expect to hear, if any, because of the abatement that's being planned and contemplated here. So, and the fact that it's, buried at the far end of the property, that's, I think, probably good planning too. So I look forward to seeing the output of this. And again, to reassure folks that those kind of decisions are done in the scientific world through the provincial bodies, that this is what they do for a living. Those recommendations and any changes that they recommend you or the applicant make to their design to come into compliance, all have to be, those boxes have to be checked before it comes back to us for any type of proposed, approval. So I'm glad that you brought that up, Councilor McDonald, because environmental concerns, conversion of land that has trees on it, that's not greenbelt. We don't have any greenbelt. And those kind of things involve a lot of science, and they have to be approved at the ministry level. They're not decisions that we make lately. As much as I'm the growth guy, I can't trample over environmental concerns, nor would I, but we just don't have that ability at our council. So thanks for bringing that up. It's an important thing and very timely. So last call for questions, I think. Any? No, just want to see your hand on TV. Both hands. Dropping 10 here. I gotcha. One of our young members of the audience can see himself on the screens. As there's no further comments from the public regarding the official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment, I will now call this public meeting to an end. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Council.
And now I have a motion moved by. How about Councilor Emeritus? Feel like moving it? And yeah, Councilor Major. The staff report CSR 2025-4, official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment, public meeting report, file number OPA 0424 and ZBA 0525 for 1017 and 1029 Brebeuf Street. Brebeuf Road. Anyway, near here they are. Dated January 15, 2025, be received for information. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right, we got through the public meetings, but with narrow question. I lost money on that bet. All right. So if I haven't completely messed up my paperwork. Moving right along here, we have no presentations tonight. No integrity commissioner report recommendation reports. We haven't had one for this entire term, just saying. I don't usually get to talk about this because it's not my part of the meeting. Deputation and petitions, 15.1, the YMCA. So I'd like to invite Ms. Jill Tetman, the CEO of the YMCA of Simcoe Muskoka, and Ms. Naomi Murray, General Manager of Simcoe Muskoka YMCA, to provide an update to council with respect to the services, the many services that the YMCA provides. So please pop up to the podium and hit the button until it turns red. And you typically have 10 minutes, but we're on a roll tonight. So do what you can to stay within 10 minutes.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor Gordon. Good evening, council members. Good evening, staff, members of the public that are leaving, and my colleagues. Just wanted to give you an update on all the work that we do at the YMCA of Simcoe Muskoka, and more specifically talk about the work that we do here in Midland, to show you some of the work that we've done. I have not presented before in front of this council, so it's great to be here. Thank you for the invite. Next slide, please. So at the Y, we focused on bringing people together and igniting their potential for over 170 years. Our strategic plan, Forward Together, was introduced in 2022, and we continue to uphold this promise. Over the next 2 years, we're going to focus on 3 priorities, which are on the screen: connecting people to meaningful experiences, cultivating a great workplace, and strengthening the Y's legacy. Next slide. So as a charity dedicated to strengthening the foundations of the community we serve more than 50,000 people across Simcoe, Muskoka, and Parry Sound, across 80 different locations. And we do believe in helping children and families reach their full potential. As I've said, for over 170 years, we've cared for kids, we've shaped leaders for future potential. We've helped generations of people come together and find support and make friends and get healthier. And we are determined to be a genuine, welcoming, hopeful place that is nurturing and fun. So next slide. This slide is a little bit hard to read, and I don't expect you to read it all. However, I didn't appreciate the rich history of the Y in this community until I saw this slide. And the Y has been a vital part of the Midland community since the late 1800s. So that's over 130 years. So I was surprised at that. Some people in this audience may not be, but we have evolved our programs and services over that time to meet the ever-changing needs of the folks that we serve. And our commitment to fostering health, wellness, community support remains strong as we strive to make a positive impact for generations to come. And we honor and acknowledge the trust and legacy built over generations, positioning the Y as a cornerstone of community support and development. And the next slide. So we employ approximately 150 year-round and seasonal staff in Midland and surrounding communities. We are committed to fostering physical health and well-being through accessible fitness programs and aquatic facilities, which have played a pivotal role in promoting active lifestyles for individuals and families. We did adapt our offerings virtually and online during the pandemic, but continue to do so because sometimes we need to find alternate ways of reaching people who prefer not to come out to a facility, but to be at home and require some flexibility in their activities. In response to the growing needs in our community, we provide vital counseling services to vulnerable youth. These programs address some challenges, things like mental health issues, substance abuse, social barriers, and we hope to foster resilience and hope in these young folks. Camp Kitchikwana, which is located on Beausoleil Island, for those of you who don't know, and some of our day camps are spaces where children and youth experience personal growth, outdoor education, lifelong friendships, while nurturing confidence and community spirit in our young people. And helping individuals achieve economic stability and personal growth is provided through our employment and our literacy programs to equip people with the essential skills that they need and opportunities to grow. In a role in supporting working families with high quality licensed childcare and before and after school programs to over 5,000 children, creates a safe and nurturing environment that contributes to children's development and well-being while giving parents peace of mind. The Y is dedicated to meeting the evolving needs of this growing community by offering services from cradle to the golden years. Next slide. And I hope this next video works.
One day I was telling Carrie Casey about my new class that I had put together, and she said, "Would you like to teach it here at the Y?" And I thought, wow, that would be great. I've been volunteering all my life, basically, and I want to be able to share what I know and how I can help people, and the little things that I do know, and in any way that I can help them to grow and help them to walk properly, and that's just what I want to do.
Diane brings, I'd say, flavor and sass to our Midland Y. The members love her. She is quite a character, and I love the fact that she shows people who are older, they're retired, and are wondering, how can they be useful? How can they add to the zest of our Y, add to our community, that they can still help?
I want to be able to share what I know and how I can help people. And it's just sort of a second nature to be able to give of myself, and that's just what I want to do.
Our mission in action always, right, next slide, is always demonstrated by the stories we collect. And we certainly collect a lot of stories on the impact of our services. So this slide represents more specifically around Midland and the membership and program stats. And so currently at our Midland Health, Fitness and Aquatics facility, we have over 3,000 members. 30% of those are adults that are looking to maintain their health and fitness. 31% of those are youth and children. Does reflect our commitment to nurturing the next generation, and another 33% is seniors, and that really showcases our support in active aging and community engagement. And about 20% of our members in the Midland area do receive some sort of financial assistance, and this ensures that no one is left behind due to financial barriers, reflecting our value of inclusivity. Because we border Georgian Bay, the importance of water safety and confidence building skills is paramount in this community, which is why we provide over swimming lessons to over 450 children each week. It's a lot of swimming lessons. And currently the distribution of our membership, as you can see on the screen, about half of our members come from the town of Midland, and the other half is made up of the other surrounding municipalities of Tiny Tay and Penetanguishene, with a few outliers. Our commitment to facility maintenance and improvement is guided by our building condition assessment, which we completed a couple of years ago. And the planned acquisition of new fitness equipment in August 2024 is really a signal of our ongoing efforts to keep the member experience and to meet the evolving needs of our member and our communities. Next slide. The future of our community lies in the hands of our next generation. Our YMCA has a long history of supporting youth development. We are looking at revamping our youth nights in September. They have been, we have not had those for a couple of years now, so we are looking at revamping those. We are currently running 4 levels of a youth leadership program. We have a new partnership with the South Georgian Bay Royal Sea Cadet Corps Trillium that starts this month. And the YMCA Youth Exchange Canada gives youth the opportunity to participate in a national exchange program. It's approximately twice or every 2 years. Last summer, we had a number of youth from this community that traveled to Vancouver Island for a youth exchange experience. Our babysitting home alone courses offered throughout the year is often the first step towards youth finding employment. And we have a partnership with the Simcoe Muskoka Catholic District School Board, where students can complete certifications to become a lifeguard, as well as earning high school credits. And many of those students go on to become employees of the Y. We also have a scholarship program available for anyone interested in taking on advanced aquatic courses. And in last year, 2024, we granted 34 scholarships that amounted to over $5,000. We've also recently created a new program, Inner Strength Training, and it's focused on mental wellness for individuals over 18 in response to a high-growing community need. And finally, we offer co-op partnerships with the Catholic and public school boards to create meaningful work experiences for local youth. Next slide. As we continue to provide supports across our communities, one of our key philanthropic initiatives is Move to Give. I don't know if anyone in here has heard of Move to Give. We've done it for 10 years in a row now. It is an opportunity for individuals to be active, but also give back to the community at the same time. In addition to our licensed childcare centers, we also offer licensed home care programs that provide quality care in nurturing home-like environment, again, allowing parents peace of mind that their kids are taken care of. We do employ 54 members at our health, fitness, and aquatics facility, the Y in Midland. And what makes us unique is that 37% of those 54 staff are youth. And for many, the YMCA is their first place of employment. So we're proud of that. We recognize that our volunteers and staff are not just contributors to our program, they're also part of the fabric of our community. As you saw with Diane, is a very significant part of what we do in terms of volunteers. Volunteers are truly the heart of our Y, and they play a crucial role in ensuring that our participants have a great experience. And in Midland alone, we have 31 volunteers. They offer over 2,600 hours a year. So that's about 58 hours a week. So we do rely on our volunteers a lot, and they provide services in a variety of ways. So everything from fitness and aquatics right through to cleaning and maintenance to administration. Next slide. We also have employment services here in the town of Midland on King Street. I think it's King Street, yes. Our employment services launched a volunteer-led English as a second language class 3 years ago in response to the arrival of the displaced Ukrainians. And classes are now offered at our health, fitness, and aquatics facility during weekends and evenings, and serving a real diverse array of newcomers, many of which now, over half, are from other countries other than the Ukraine. We also expanded our settlement services to deliver vital support to the community a day a week, ensuring that newcomers receive the essential services that they need to resettle in our community. And over the past 3 years, our employment services has contributed nearly $500,000 to local businesses through hiring and training supports. And this year, our aim is to invest up to $278,000 in further support for new recruits, employees, and job seekers. A lot of this is through training subsidies for employees. And we're also seeing a gradual return from pre-pandemic to our employment services, which see about 1,100 people accessing our employment services monthly. Next slide. As we look to the future, it's clear that no one organization can do it alone. We certainly know that. The challenges we face in our community today require collaboration. They require shared resources, and they require collective action. And partnerships can help us address many issues in a wide variety of ways. I'm going to touch on a couple of examples, highlight a few of our key partnerships. 2 years ago, Chickamick Family Health Team recognized the importance of social interaction for their clients' well-being, and they partnered with the Y to prescribe a 3 to 6 month membership for their clients. Again, as I mentioned, being a community on water, it's crucial for all community members to understand the importance of safety around water. And ideally, the minimum standards of how to survive fall into deep water. And so we've partnered with the Life Saving Society and offer Swim to Survive program to all interested area schools. And this program offers transportation to the Y and 3 swim lessons for students to learn basic survival skills. The Midland Y has also been the indoor meeting and gathering place for the Special Olympics Huronia snowshoe athletes. And for many years during their training season, and this year, they have added a swim program, and they use the Y as their training facility. And we have a partnership with the South Georgian Bay Royal Canadian Sea Cadet Corps Trillium that I had mentioned earlier that is partially funded through the Midland Rotary Club. The cadets receive an annual Y membership, which includes registration in a weekly swim lesson and leadership programs. So looking ahead, the Y is more committed than ever to fostering these partnerships and more that enable us to address the evolving needs in our communities. And we do believe that the future of our community depends on these collaborative efforts. Next slide. We want to show that we do have a commitment to quality, and YMCA's nationwide share a commitment to the Y national standards, ensuring that there's a common, consistent experience at every YMCA across the country. These national standards set out the expectations for the Y experience, as I said, at every YMCA. Oh, I lost my place. Sorry. I missed a page. Okay, great. Sorry, and these are just some examples of some quotes that we received in our recent member survey that was developed in the fall. And we received an 85% member satisfaction score. It's the highest we've received in our member surveys to date. So we were excited about that. We do support quality by audits, by staff training, and by certifications from our staff. And next slide, please. So looking to the future, as I wrap up, I'd like to just share that as we look towards the future, we do have a projected membership growth. We know that the town of Midland is projected to grow by 2031 to 25,000 people. And we are looking as well to grow our membership and believe that our membership is expected to get up to 4,500 members. Our aging population, as well as our young families, will require the facilities and the activities that meet the needs of this multi-generational community. We have established a number of partnerships across Simcoe Muskoka. We have some very mature municipal partnerships with the town of Wasaga Beach, the town of Innisfil, the town of Gravenhurst. We're currently working in a partnership with the town of Parry Sound. We do believe that that is our future as a YMCA in partnership and certainly in partnership with municipalities. And the next slide. The Y is dedicated to helping everyone in the community feel healthy, feel strong, safe, and included so they can reach their full potential, because everyone deserves a Y moment. The Y connects thousands of people of all ages to the supports they need to live a healthy lifestyle. And certainly the Y, and knowing that the Y has been around in this community for over 130 years, is certainly something that we want to continue to support and want this community to continue to thrive. And on that, I will say thank you very much for your attention tonight, and I will take any questions.
Thank you so much. Very informative. Great to have you here. But we got to get you, or hopefully, next term of council, get you in earlier than halfway through. But better halfway through than not at all. Council, questions? Councilor Bertel.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to thank you for coming in, giving the presentation. So when I first moved to Midland, Y was the place I used to go to. I was younger. I had time to kill. But then I had started a family, so my son's been going there since he was a toddler. And I want to thank Miss Murray because Y might have started in the 1800, but I think the culture she's built in Midland for the Y that's shows the success. And Miss Bunn, I think, and Miss Murray could be sisters because the culture they're building for our town is very positive. So I just want to thank you.
Councilor Meredith.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon, through you. Just a comment, not a question, but thank you for the presentation and the information. I had no idea that the Y did so much. So as Mayor Gordon alluded it earlier, it would have been nice to have you a lot earlier, but late is better than not being informed at all. So, but thank you to yourself, your team on looks like building partnerships in the community and growing. Very well informed presentation, and I'm just so sad that I didn't know you did so much. So, but I do know now. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. It's hard to get it all in 10 minutes.
Councilor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon, and thank you, Ms. Tetman, for the enlightening, encouraging report. I have two questions. I congratulate you for all the partnerships that you have juggled in the air and very successful ones at that. My first question is the English as a second language is also trying to be offered at the library. Have you ever tried partnershiping with our wonderful library?
Yes, we do work with the library. Karen Ferguson is the general manager of our employment services across our region and in Midland specifically. So yes, we do partner with our public library on English as a second language.
You'll have to add them to your list.
Yes, I will. I will make sure that they get added to that slide. Thank you.
That's great. My second question is one of the challenges, and we're not alone in Midland, is our homelessness and poverty. I'm sure you're quite aware of. I'm wondering how much the YMCA is exposed to this, and if you have any plans to assist us with poverty reduction or suggestions on how we can offer some solutions with that challenge.
Wow, thank you for that question. So through you, Mayor Gordon, we are very much aware of the challenges, housing challenges, food insecurity challenges. It was one of the three top needs in our community when we created our strategic plan was mental health, particularly youth mental health, homelessness, housing issues, and poverty. So those are three needs that we absolutely are aware of. We in our first couple of years of our strategic plan started to understand more around youth mental health and created some programs around youth mental health. As I mentioned in the presentation, there are certainly areas that we can be involved in. We are not, as I said, around partnerships and collaboration. We cannot do it alone. And so ending homelessness and reducing poverty is a community response, and we all need to be part of that together. And we're certainly interested in supporting and being part of that. One of the areas that we are building to support youth homelessness, however, it is in Barrie, it is open to the entire county, and it will be managed through the wait list will be managed through the county, is a 12-unit youth transitional housing that is being built in Barrie that through the Y that will be available in 2027. So it is an area that we have been looking into to support youth homelessness. It is transitional housing, so it is not a shelter. It is transitional housing that is part of the continuum of housing. And around poverty reduction, again, there's a lot of things that we support in different communities across Simcoe, Muskoka, whether that is meeting the needs of some of our population who need a center to enter into on a very, very cold night or in a very, very, very hot day. We have opened up our centers as warming and cooling centers to support the population that needs to either get out of the cold or out of the heat. That is something that we have done at all 5 of our centers across Simcoe Muskoka. So we do some things. I would say there's much more to be done, and we do support collaboration, we do support partnerships, and we do support working in community with community to help solve some of these much bigger problems.
Thank you for that encouragement. Later this evening, I'm going to present a notice of motion that we hopefully can establish an ad hoc committee to do some work on the problems we just discussed. And I've just mentally added the YMCA to our list.
Thank you.
Well, I'd go one for you. I did have the pleasure to meet with the newcomers down in the basement. They've got a great little space eked out for them there, and the ESL program and the amazing volunteers that make it all happen. Bumped into my old, legal companion, Justice Maine, now retired. Was a big part of that. I think he's still probably working in that capacity. So it was neat to see Bob Maine again. But I can tell you, both my kids from young ages participated heavily, not only in the Boys and Girls Club, but in the Y programming. After school and on weekends, both my kids learned how to swim. My daughter grew up to be and got her lifeguard certification through the Y and then worked for the Y. And she's gone on to be a nurse now. And so I'm doing my part for the healthcare system. But anyway, the Y is just such a wide-ranging variety of plethora of services. It was great to see them all there. It is a real eye-opener, and I'll be sharing this segment of our meeting in a little write-up that I do on my site, encouraging people to watch it and review it. Get to know your why better than, it's more than just a pool or a track or someplace to, lift weights. Now, that being said, in the summertime when I had opportunity to bike over while I was e-biking around town, had a great little meeting talking about the future. Capital needs for your building. It's aging. While it's a good workout getting in and out of it, it certainly is not accessible by any definition. And there's going to be needs to, have a version 2.0 of the YMCA in Midland. And as we had a fear in the decades, well, probably within the past decade, of Ys closing permanently or consolidating. It's really refreshing and great to hear that ours is surviving and thriving, climbing out of the pandemic, getting the membership back, programming still going strong. And one of the things we mused about, and I'm going to just drop it out in the public realm right now, was these public-private partnerships are really they're the future. As municipalities try and really focus their efforts and not duplicate expenses. We run a very expensive sports and rec center. We happen to have a lot of land, including the land that your building's on. When it comes time for talking about version 2.0, if it's any time, when I'm sitting around the table here with my peers, I would love very much to start talking about how the new Y could be built on as an add-on to our sports and rec center, including a new pool and new gyms, and just leverage the land that we have and enter into this public-private partnership so that collaboratively our funding and our lending capacity and everything can be combined to make something amazing for the whole North Simcoe area. We have the land for it. We do have the debt capacity. You are certainly not without funding. And when it comes time for a new building, I just think rather than building a new building right next to our sports and rec center, wouldn't it be neat if they were interconnected rather than a stone's throw away, and we could just add on and be stronger together. So there's no motion or anything for that. There's probably, I don't know if I've set off alarm bells back at head office, but I just think that, if there is any willingness to talk about that, hopefully it's this term of council. Well, I have something to say about it. If not, I'll be lobbying from wherever I am next term, if not here, because I think it's an amazing opportunity. And, I can see it on the near term horizon that you're going to have these capital needs. And, I think we can help each other to survive and thrive as we grow our community. So more of a comment than a question. Thank you so much for coming in tonight, giving this presentation to us. And, hopefully it's inspired some people who maybe haven't explored all the amazing services available by the YM, your partners, to avail themselves of these in our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, council, We're on number 16. Committee local board delegations. Remember, we have none. Next, we have 17.1, which is reports and other items withdrawn from the consent agenda for council's consideration, including presentations by consultants regarding a report under consideration. This is that motion on council composition that, I'll read it, get it on the floor, and then I'll be moving that we defer it until our second meeting in February and hope to have full house. It'll also give everyone a little more time to ruminate on it, maybe consider, the debate and conversation that happened yesterday at county, which is the beginning of a process of potentially reducing county size, just with the overall objective of reducing the size of government in general. It's not always a money thing, it's just more about efficiency. So this is going to give council, once I should read it on the floor to say all this, but so I better do that first. So moved by Councillor Meritus, seconded by Councillor East. And I have to read this anyway. That staff report CSR 2025-6 council composition for the 2026 municipal election dated January 15, 2025 be received, and one, that the town of Midland council composition be restructured for the 2026 municipal election to 7 members as follows: mayor elected at large, deputy mayor elected at large, 5 councillor positions elected at large, and 2 that the clerk be directed to bring forward a bylaw at the next regular council meeting. So council, I'm sort of preempting debate on the merits of this by tabling instead that we defer this until the February 20-something meeting. 26th. Okay, so that's 2 meetings from now. Basically for 2 reasons. One is because we're short 3 people and a decision of this magnitude shouldn't be made without, I believe, as many of us as possible. And also to give some more time for not only us to go back and talk to our constituents about this, to ruminate on it ourselves, on the pros and cons, but also I would encourage folks to avail themselves of the video from the county and listen to the spirited debate we had on this very same subject matter just yesterday. And that's on the County of Simcoe's YouTube site. So anyway, I think all of that together, a little bit of breathing room, and it's just the right thing to do because I'd feel terrible if we either passed this or rejected it tonight and we're short 3 of our team. So that's my rationale for deferring it, and any conversation about this now is really around the deferral only. So other than that, I'd just call the question for deferral. Any question on, the pros or cons of deferring it? Councillor McDonald.
Excuse me, just to comment that I support the deferral recommendation, yes, I do support that.
So all in favor of the, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have prepared a motion to defer, so I'll bring that to you.
Thank you, that's right. Got ahead of myself. Yes, and we'll need a majority of us to defer this. So can I have Councillor Meritus and East again on this one? Okay, that item 17.1 staff report CSR 2025-6 council composition for the 2026 municipal election dated January 15, 2025. Be deferred to the February 26, 2025 regular meeting of council agenda for consideration. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried unanimously. Thank you, council. Yes, you're not allowed to be late, or you can dial in. Basically, we have to decide before the, before the fall, basically, because this has to get all notified if there is any change to the province. So we do have a little breathing room, but we really don't want to kick this can down the road. Let's debate the merits of it and make a decision and move on, because we got lots of other big stuff to deal with. Next, I have number 18, notices of motion, and I'm led to believe that there is a notice of motion about to be read into the record. So please take it away, Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. Whereas on January the 9th, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario released their Municipalities Under Pressure report that, again, stated the only real path out of homelessness crisis is to build supportive housing and to invest in the creation of permanent affordable housing. And whereas the town of Midland, with the support of Simcoe County and the Midland Public Library, hosted 2 Hope Housing and Health Symposium, and whereas the Simcoe County Health Unit is prepared to work with the town on a poverty reduction strategy, my motion is, may it be resolved that staff be directed to prepare a report on establishing an ad hoc committee which could compile the results of the symposium and investigate a balanced approach of emergency supports, transitional and supportive housing. I'll provide a copy for the clerk.
Fantastic. Thank you. That'll be on our section at our subsequent meeting in February for debate under section 22, motions for which notice was given. Anybody else got a notice of motion? All right. Next are general announcements. Kicking it off with Councillor East.
Thank you, through your worship. First, I just wanted to thank the Georgian Bay Snow Riders for getting our OFSC trails up and running so quickly. We were the only area to actually open our trails in all of Ontario. There's a little bit of history behind that, but I also wanted to bring forth on Saturday, February the 1st, the Georgian Bay Snow Riders are going to be hosting a charity ride supporting the Southern Georgian Bay Airboat Rescue. I'm going to be there. I openly welcome everybody that has a skidoo and a guest to bring them. It's $40 for the ride and $20 for the guest with a barbecue after. And the proceeds will be going to the airboat rescue. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Bertel.
Just wanted to thank our local Legion Branch 80. We had the pleasure to attend the generous donation they had given to the fire department to purchase some new technology equipment that can read, I guess, infrared. They were explaining in details how it works, but anyways, I just wanted to thank our local branch 80 for being generous and giving the fire department the right equipment needed for rescue operations.
All right, well, I'll just throw one out. Last weekend, I had the pleasure of attending at the Midland Curling Club for the Oompah Bonspiel. It's an annual event, and I haven't curled in probably 7 years, maybe it was longer than that. It's been a minute, and it was a great time. So just letting people know, if you haven't tried curling before, you don't have to be an athlete or know all the yoga poses, although clearly, because we came in last, other people were very, very, athletic. But you don't have to be to play the game. They have this stick. I'm sure it has a proper name. So you don't even have to fold yourself in half and scoot along the ice and wear your knees out. And you can play the game. I can't say as well as as doing it the traditional way, but it was a lot of fun. I tried it out, and it was a good time. Anyway, so just a shout out to our Midland Curling Club. For those of you who follow the curling news, there was talk about merger between Penetang Machine Midland clubs. That didn't happen, but our club is strong and thriving, and it was fun. I just thought I would tell you about my recreational activity. I was playing with my wife, and also Councillor Meredith and his wife Paula, and Vishali and Councillor Patel. So we didn't form a quorum, but together we tried to represent council at the Bonspiel, and we won bologna, which is like the last place. Anyway, so we donated the bologna to the guest house shelter. Don't forget, a coldest night of the year is coming up, folks. Donate to that. But at any rate, it was a lot of fun, and just a reminder to try something new in our town. We have lots of good winter recreation out there, and even things that maybe aren't traditional, or that you think, wow, I can't do that. Chances are you can. So check out the Midland Curling Club. A little shout out for them. Oh, Councillor Patel, I've inspired yet another one.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Councillor Meredith for introducing us to curling.
It still didn't help, man. We were terrible, but it was so much fun. All righty. Looks like we are at the end of our general and motion to close the committee of the whole. I don't usually do this part of the meeting, so I don't usually talk about this stuff. So section 20, motion to close out of the committee of the whole and resume formal council. Motion moved by Councillor Major, seconded by Councillor Patel, that the committee of the whole rise and report. All those in favor? Any opposed? There, this is where I normally get the mic back from our deputy mayor. I have a motion here moved by Councillor Patel, seconded by Councillor Major again, that the recommendations of the committee of the whole for the meeting of January 15th, 2025 be adopted as resolutions of council. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. All right, next we've got motions for which notice was given, 22.1. I have a motion here moved by Councillor East. I need a seconder. Councillor Patel. The council consider collaborating with the Legion in painting a memorial crosswalk to the cenotaph, and that staff provide a report detailing the feasibility and cost for this crosswalk. Take it away, Councillor East.
Thank you, through your worship. I was hoping to reach out to my fellow council and deputy mayor to look at the opportunity of creating a memorial crosswalk to the cenotaph to honor the sacrifices our veterans gave up for us Canadians and our freedoms. There has been soft communication across the town with residents, and it was welcomed very, very positively. I was hoping, or we were hoping, that we could work in coordination with the Legion. I know that I've spoken with a couple of participants of the Legion, and that was welcomed as well. And they are very interested in working together with us to create this memorial sidewalk or crosswalk to the cenotaph. I thought it was quite fitting after we reviewed the notice today that the Legion also gave that NFPA $6,650 for that thermal imaging camera for our fire department. So the thing is, the Legion still is giving back to our communities even after so many soldiers have died for us. They haven't stopped. So what I'm asking my fellow constituents is to look at the opportunity of creating a beautiful memorial crosswalk to honor our veterans. That's all that I really have to say, and I'm hoping that you'll help me with that one. Not speaking too well today.
Certainly. Councillor Major.
I totally support it. And personally, myself, I wanted to go east-west so that everyone driving in and out of King Street sees it, not north-south, where you got to be pulling into the rec center or the curling club to see it. East-west is the way to go, so the vehicles will see it coming and going in and out of Midland. That's my suggestion.
I'll just weigh in here on this. So during the Christmas break, I got a communication from Elcan, who teamed up with the BIA for the banners, the remembrance banners. And I shared this with you. They've pledged $10,000 to make this happen. So for the folks that, when we floated this online at first, there's always the negative Nellies that, well, I don't pay tax money for that. How much is it going to cost? And so I wanted to sort of get ahead of that a little bit, because that is a valid concern. I mean, I'm making fun of it here, but I mean, it is a valid concern. Cost containment is important to us. But our community is amazing, and we have amazing benevolent volunteers and philanthropic organizations. And Elcan was kind enough to pledge $10K towards this. So I don't know what the crosswalk will end up costing, but I had a conversation, kind of test the waters, if it were, after when we went to the dinner after our November 11th. And I kind of used the folks at dinner as my focus group. Needless to say, everybody at the dinner was in full agreement with this. Then I asked them about location, clearly right, either east, west, north, south, whatever, at the cenotaph is a, very fitting location. But they'd also heard us talking more than once about cultural corners, which is, the corner of Elizabeth and King, and our desire to have some painted crosswalks at a very prominent center of our downtown. It's a little more challenging to paint that brickwork, I am led to believe, than it is just run-of-the-mill asphalt, but that's a technical thing that paint is paint, right? So I'm just wondering if you'd be amenable to allowing staff, when they provide their feasibility on the costs, which could come in at 8K or 18K, we don't know, but we know we've got 10K pledged. If they could maybe provide costs for both of those locations, and then we can decide, perhaps do we want a super central one where we're bringing people's remembrance to the fact of our veterans at a central location, or do we focus all that remembrance at the location of the cenotaph? I'm fine either way. I just wanted to throw it out there that, there seemed to be equal support for either of the locations. A really prominent one in our downtown core, being the first of potentially 4 crosswalks at that cultural corners, or down at the cenotaph where we focus, people's thoughts on our veterans there. This motion, the way it reads, is pretty prescriptive in that the crosswalk is at the cenotaph. If, with your permission, I propose a modification to not tie staff's hands. And if you thought it was appropriate, to have them explore the costs and the feasibility of both locations, and we could then decide at that time. Those are really only my additional comments. And other than that, I support it wholeheartedly, of course.
Thank you, and I appreciate the suggestion. My only feeling is that we go to the cenotaph to celebrate the lives that were given for us. That's where we go to honor them. I personally, I really don't have a preference, but well, no, I'm gonna lean one more way. I believe that they deserve their own crosswalk, seeing as they gave their lives for us. So to me, as you said, running east and west, right across to the cenotaph, that is where we go to celebrate their lives, the things that they've given us for our freedoms. So I'm okay with it, but at the same time, I think that they really deserve that to the cenotaph. And I will actually speak to, I read that gentleman that was kind of beating us up about the budget, and the first thing that I thought of was our own Canadian anthem spoke to true patriot love. There was no patriot with that gentleman that was speaking to you. So personally, I know the guy, and I can't believe that he spit that out. Ignorant, that's all I got to say. But yes, personally, I feel that they deserve their own crosswalk going to the place that we celebrate the lives that they gave for us.
Just so in response, I have no problem with that. It isn't mission critical to me that the location be changed. I just wanted to throw it out there because we've talked about cultural corners. And sorry, my one last thing is I thought that the pictogram that we saw shared on Facebook primarily was a very simple crosswalk design, and it had a silhouette of clearly what appeared to be a male soldier. And I just thought, man, we could do a lot better than this. There's a lot of females that have given their lives and continue to serve in our military, and I don't know that that singular, apparently male silhouette really, works. I think we need to be a bit more inclusive, even though that's seems to be like not the way to talk nowadays in the new orange man world, where heck with DEI and inclusivity and what have you. I still am a firm believer in that. And I also know that if the poppy symbol is used, we need to get permission from Central Command, I believe they're called. And I got that pledge that night at the dinner too, that, we submit the design to them and should go fine for us. So that got me thinking that perhaps we could do a call for an artistic submission from our amazing artists that we have in our community, that we do a call for art for everything from wrapping electrical boxes to garbage cans, and say, here's the dimensions and the specs that the staff would have to provide. And we're looking for something that's doable within the paint color, palette that's available to us, because there's not an infinite number of paint colors, I would think, for the ground. Maybe there is. And give those specs, and then we can have a selection made from the submissions from our local artists to help design something, maybe a little more inspirational than the singular kind of silhouette that I saw floating around. So again, not trying to get in on I think it's a fantastic motion. I'll approve it the way it reads right now. Just throwing out some context there for conversation. And then I'll turn the mic over. Feel free, and then we'll pass it over to Councillor McDonald.
I love the idea of opening it up to fellow local artists, but I would also suggest that maybe we could reach out to high schools, and then that way we could really involve the younger generation so that they can really have a deep understanding and a deep-rooted understanding of what those veterans gave up for us. I love that, though.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. Just a comment that I would prefer to leave the motion as it is. Then it's less complicated and it's more likely to become a sure thing. We incorporate another corner and possibly here or there. I think the cenotaph, which I assume you're thinking the corner of Ellen and King, east-west, sounds perfect. And I'm envisioning it now, and it's a great proposal. Thank you for bringing it forward, Councillor East.
Councillor Major?
I think the other thing for me, east-west on Ellen Street, is I think somewhere down the road, they want to do Elizabeth and King, the 4 ways with 4 different, whatever. So I just as soon have Ellen Street alone for the veterans, not part of 4 down at King and Elizabeth.
Councillor Meredith?
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. And I was going to comment on your comment, and now you're 2 other councillors, or 3 councillors just wanted at Ellen and King, and I'm fine with that too. I was just going to say that if staff was going to bring a report back to council, that and if King Street by down by the cultural center was one of the options, because you went to the Legion that night, and they recommended that spot as well. So I would say that if what the costs presented, I'm pretty sure that the BIA would be willing out of their budget to kick in some dollars for that as well. So if that was going to be added to this motion, but I will support it either way. Doesn't matter to me. But if that's the spot that our fellow veterans would like to see it, I'm all for it. Thank you.
Councillor East?
And if I could ask for priority, I think that all of us would love to see this done before next Remembrance Day.
Councillor Bertel?
Thank you, Mayor. So just to respect the, I guess, the veterans, it would have better exposure foot traffic wise on the cultural corners. That's recommended. I know the ideal location is by the center path, but you don't see as many people walking. So most of the people are driving. So they would just kind of drive by or drive over it. When you're actually walking, like in the downtown core, it would have a more sentimental value. We would have better thought process when someone sees it, rather than someone just kind of flashing by. So that was just my thought process, why it could be a better location. I wish we could have 2, but if we can't, I would respect your view. But if we want to have exposure regarding our veterans, the 4 corners would be an ideal location. Thank you.
Well, perhaps while staff are figuring out what it costs to put in at that one location, if it's not too much effort, so that because we're going to have this conversation again about that, the 4 crosswalks open right now at King and Elizabeth. Maybe we can get an estimate on what it would cost for that too, if it's not a whole lot more work. I suspect it'll be a little different than the cost of doing it on just regular asphalt, especially with so much traffic. But again, don't know, or if that's a separate animal, Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Your Worship. The motion that's on the floor is to have the crosswalk at the leading to the cenotaph. If council wanted to direct staff, and staff will provide a report with respect to that area. But if council wanted staff to consider a different area, then we'd have to, an amendment would have to come forward to the motion.
Councillor East, it's your motion.
I don't want to change a thing.
Okay, easy peasy. Councillor McDonald.
Just a comment. Let's deal with this one first, and then we can deal with the culture corners separately. It's 2 different animals in my view, or not animals, but you know what I mean, subjects.
All right, fair enough. Anything else? We can call the question. All right, call in the question. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. My virtual hand was up. All righty. We're down to the bylaws. We're almost at the end. Moved by Councillor Meredith, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that the following bylaws. Bylaw 2024-1 authorize the sale of municipally owned lands legally described as concession 3 Tay. I guess it technically is, yeah. Part lot 20, RP 51R25728, parts 1 and 2. You planning folks. In the town of Midland, being municipally as 415 William Street. And bylaw 2024-2, amend bylaw 2005-51, being a bylaw to regulate the issuance of permits for the construction, demolition, alteration of buildings, plumbing, and sewage systems, and to repeal bylaw 2023-34 be passed and enacted. These are from earlier tonight, council. All those in favor? Any opposed? It's carried. And we've got one moved by Councillor Patel, next moved by, or seconded by Councillor Meredith, that bylaw 2025-3, being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings at a regular council meeting with closed session held January 15, 2025, be passed and enacted. All those in favor? Carried. Any opposed? Carried. And last but not least, moved by Councillor Major, seconded by Councillor East, this regular meeting of council with closed session adjourn at 8:10 p.m. All those in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.